Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here. It's running the Thursday Night Showdown slate between the Colts and the Titans. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the video, I want to thank you guys again for all support. It is greatly appreciated. Currently, right now, 5.63 thousand subscribers on YouTube. So the easiest way to support me, since all the content is free, is leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos and when I go live. Of course, I will be live streaming for the Showdown slate 30 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, going over everything, answering any questions you guys have. So make sure to check the live stream on Thursday. Also, if you guys cannot watch the videos, I do upload an Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. And one more thing too, I have a bunch of content coming out. We already have an early look video for Week 10 NFL main slate is up, and it's Masters week, guys. Super excited. Do have a video up for the Masters as well, so make sure to check that one out. $1 million to first, and I will, if you guys are interested in the spreadsheet I made for you guys in that video, I will tweet it out tomorrow. So if you want access to that, all you have to do is follow me on Twitter, also in the description below. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. Before we talk about players and their prices for the slate, and it's like I feel like this is like the third straight Showdown slate where it's just not super fun. It's going to be kind of an ugly game. We'll talk about it more, I guess, in a sec. Let's take a look at my lineup here from Monday here. Went with Jamison Crowder in the captain, Cam Newton, Joe Flacco, Mims, Burkhead, and Gunner. So, Jamison Crowder was a little bit disappointed. Did only have 2 catches. Wasn't targeted a ton. It was Perriman that had the big breakout day. I also had Mims. It was okay. Right, but again, Perriman was the receiver to own. And I didn't have Jacoby Myers. So, not having Myers was really the big piece, right? He was pretty popular. Myers, talk about him as obviously the guy that had the most upside. It's just, I couldn't fit all the top guys in. I wanted to prioritize the 2 QBs and Crowder. So, that's kind of what held me back in this lineup. Burkhead was pretty solid for his price. Gunner was all right. Probably needed 1 or 2 more catches, but $600 and didn't need a whole lot from him. But yeah, it was just no Perriman, no Myers, right? And those 2 guys went off. Myers a lot more popular. But there still is a pretty big edge in these Showdown sites. Talked about it with the Bucs and the Giants game, right, where the Buccaneers defense was 40% owned. Patriots defense was 40% owned in this one. I told you guys, that is just like way too expensive at 7.4K. And almost half the field played them in the Millie Maker. So, I think there's still a pretty big edge. Damian Harris was like 40% owned at that price. I thought that was way too much. Like, he was just a contrarian play. So, there is still, I think, a pretty big edge in these Showdown sites. So, let's see if we can take advantage of that for this Thursday night game. All right, so let's take a look at the Vegas odds. We'll look at the snap counts for each team in their most recent game, and then we can get to the player-by-player breakdown. So we have Colts, Titans, 48.5 over-under. Average, maybe a little bit on the higher end. Titans are currently 2-point favorites. Let's review the snap counts. And the Colts, at least for DFS, I never play anyone from the Colts. I don't think I've played anyone from the Colts all year. The reason being, well, they utilize 3 running backs. They have a group of like 4 or 5 wide receivers that no one really stands out. And they have 3 tight ends they use. And they have old man Phillip Rivers, who doesn't really have a whole lot of upside. So just like, this Colts team is not really fun. But I'll try to do my best to break it down. So Wilkins played 34% of snaps last game. Hines, their third down back, played 34%. And Taylor played 31%. This is a pretty similar situation to the Patriots, with their running backs. I think, Taylor is, priced up close to what Damian Harris was last game. You have Hines, basically, I think, identical to what James White was, and they're, similar roles, they're down backs. And if Wilkins, kind of like the Rex Burkhead, who will get some carries, will get some receiving down work. He's the cheapest of the bunch. So, we'll talk about that more, I guess, once we go player-by-player breakdown. Wide receivers for the Colts. So last game, Johnson played 88%, Pittman 87%, Pascal played 60%, Harris played 24%, but that was without T.Y. Ty is back. If we go back to the last game that Ty played a full game, which was week 6, you look, Ty played 94%, Pascal played 92%, Johnson played 63%. But again, Pittman was not in that game either. So I think they're going to utilize those 4 with Hilton, Pascal, Johnson, and Pittman. I don't think anyone really plays. I would guess probably everyone gets maybe 60 to 70% of the work. That's my best guess. I think they will utilize those 4 wide receivers for the Colts, that being Ty, Johnson, Pittman, and Pascal. Tight ends for the Colts, well, we do have, I guess they should only use 2 tight ends this game because Jack Doyle is doubtful. Mo Alley-Cox status, I guess, is a little bit up in the air, but I think he's going to be good to go. And then Trey Burton is there as well. So last game, Mo Alley-Cox played 51%, Trey Burton 43%, Jack Doyle 32%. Again, Jack Doyle doubtful, so don't expect him to go. Mo Alley-Cox, I expect him to play, so I think it'll probably be a 50-50 split there with him and Trey Burton. Running backs for the Titans, this is a little bit surprising. Derrick Henry only played 53% of the snaps last game, and that's one they were playing from ahead, so it was positive game script for Derrick Henry. That's a little bit surprising. McNichols, their third down back, played 29%, and Foreman played 15%. If you think, maybe that was just a one-off, well, if you go back to Week 8, not really the case, right? Henry, 53% of the snaps. So the snaps are going down on Henry. It is a little bit worrisome. McNichols, 35%, and Foreman, 10%. That was 2 games ago. So, yeah, there's definitely some risk here with Henry, and he has no involvement in the passing game. Does worry me a bit. Wide receivers for the Titans, A.J. Brown played 82% of snaps last game, Corey Davis 78%, and those are the number 1 and number 2 guys. We have Adam Humphrey's status up in the air. If he can't go, I think it'll be a combination of Raymond and Batson filling in for the number 3, with neither looking amazing, but both are, viable dart throws. If Humphreys does play, and he will be the number 3 wide receiver. And then tight ends for the Titans, Jonnu Smith is going to play basically the entire game. Ferkser's the backup, but he still will get targets. He got targeted 6 times last game. He played 49% of the snaps. I think he's a viable, cheap option on this slate. So let's talk about player by player. We'll start at the top with Tannehill at 11.2K. Well, like I always say with these showdown slates, quarterbacks have the highest floor. So if you're playing a cash game setting, you probably play Tannehill. You probably play Philip Rivers. Tannehill's a guy that probably doesn't have huge upside, and this will be a situation of kind of how you think the game flows, right? Because that last game against the Bears, they were playing from ahead the entire game. He didn't really need to throw it. He only threw it 21 times. If they do fall behind, then I feel a little bit more comfortable with Tannehill, right? He's a guy that has a little bit of rushing upside, not a lot, but he had, one game where he had 42 rushing yards. He can get probably 20 yards in the ground. At this price point, again, I think he's a safe option. I think he's someone you go to for cash games. Definitely not a must-play, though, because I don't think he has enormous upside. Derrick Henry's at 10.8. I think he's going to be really popular. And I don't like playing Derrick Henry in DFS. The reason being is, again, no involvement in the passing game. And it's just he'll have one or two games a year where he will just completely break the slate. And he's already kind of had those games against Houston and against Minnesota, but he is touchdown dependent. He needs those touchdowns. So he's not going to run for over 200 yards again, right? That was more of an outlier. So you kind of need Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to get value at this price. And like I said, the snaps are going down for him. I still think he is one of the safer options because, the last 4 games basically averaging 20 touches a game, 22, 20, 18, and 21 carries. So he will get the ball a decent amount. But like I said, no involvement in the pass game, and the snaps going down a bit is a little bit worrisome for Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown's at 10.4, so he's their number 1 guy. He's been pretty consistent. Last 4 games, 7, 8, 7, and 9 targets, 22, 30, 12, and 23 fantasy points. Now, he has had 5 touchdowns the last 4 games. Don't know if we can expect that to continue, but it's good that they're going to him in the red zone, right? He's the guy they're looking to. So, at this price point, I like him for his upside. Again, he seems like a pretty safe play right now with the targets, averaging about 8 targets a game. So, I think A.J. Brown's a perfectly fine option. The matchup for a lot of the Titans guys, obviously, is not great. The Colts are pretty solid defensively. I think, A.J. Brown is a guy that you can definitely look to at 10.4. I think he goes maybe a little bit lower on. I think the flocks will probably go to Derrick Henry. But, I kind of like A.J. Brown as a pivot at almost the same price. Now, Philip Rivers at 9.8 doesn't have a ton of upside, but 2 of the last 4 games has it over 20 fantasy points, 28 and 22. Downside, well, the other 2 games, 7 and 8 fantasy points. So he's a guy that, again, I don't think he's going to break the slate, but below 10K, like that's a pretty nice price for a quarterback, right? We've seen it with guys like Daniel Jones, where he was like 30% owned, and he got there. We saw it last night with Flacco, 35% owned. He crushed it, right? So I think Phillip Rivers is a safe option. Someone, again, you go to in cash games. I like the matchup a little bit better for the Colts than I do the Titans. So, yeah, do I think Phillip Rivers is going to break the slate? Of course I don't. But I like him for his price. I think he's one of the safer options on the slate. Jonathan Taylor at 8.8. So, again, this situation really reminds me of the Patriots on Monday, right? I think Taylor is pretty similar to Damian Harris. I think Hines, basically identical to James White. And I think Wilkins is kind of like the Rex Burkhead. So, at 8.8K, I'm not prioritizing Jonathan Taylor on the slate. If you look how they distributed the snaps, it's basically a even three-way split. So why would I pay 8.8K for Jonathan Taylor when I can get Wilkins for more than $3,000 less? Like, sure, I think Jonathan Taylor is the most talented of the bunch, but if it's just going to be an even split with those 3 guys, I'm just going to take the cheapest back. Now, sure, things could change, right? Maybe they give Taylor more work, but it's not great, right? 11 and only 6 carries the last couple of games. Oh, sure, right? He did fumble that game against Baltimore. Maybe he was on pace for a little bit more, but yeah, right now, I think he's just more of a contrarian play at that price point. Corey Davis at 7.8. The previous 3 games was really good. 6, 10, and 10 targets, 11, 15, and 29 fantasy points, besides that last game against the Bears. But I'm not overly concerned about it because they just didn't really need to throw it, right? Tannehill only threw it 21 times. So at 7.8K, I think Corey Davis he's at the mid-range where it's a little bit tricky to prioritize him. I think he does go a little bit overlooked because, I think people are probably going to go to the running back or probably going to go to the quarterbacks, probably going to Derrick Henry. As a spend-up wide receiver, people will look to A.J. Brown. So Corey Davis, I think, kind of goes forgotten about in this mid-range. He's been pretty good in the games he's played, though. So I have interest in Corey Davis. I think he's a guy that does go overlooked, but kind of like him as a lower-owned play at that price. Juju Smith is a little bit pricey at 7K. I know he's playing a majority of the game, but if you just look at the last 4 games, it's not great. 2, 4, 2, and 2 targets. Now, sure, could things change? Yeah. Like we saw early in the year, he's getting targeted a lot more. He's a guy that had 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games. So I don't think Juju Smith is out of play at this price. But I think he's just more of a contrarian play. And kind of like Corey Davis, I think he goes overlooked, right? Because there's the guys at the top that I think will get a good amount of ownership in, Tannehill, Rivers, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry. So this kind of mid-range with Smith, Corey Davis, I think does go overlooked. Again, I think they're a little bit more contrarian plays. Now we get to some of the Colts wide receivers, and it is just no one stands out. It is just, I don't really want to talk about it, but I guess I do. I guess I have to. So my best guess for what happens here with these Colts wide receivers is, again, those 4 guys I mentioned. I would say everyone probably gets around 50 to 70, 60 to 70% of the snaps. I don't really know if one's going to really play the entire game. Pascal at 6'4", last 3 games, 7, 6, and 6 targets, has been okay. The price is fair. I'm going to say that basically all these Colts wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton, for me, he's my favorite Colt wide receiver at 5'8". I know he's been a big disappointment, but this is just one where I'm just back in the talent, right? I still think he's got some left in him. He's a guy that, again, he's been super, super disappointing. And coming out the injury, obviously dealing with a groin injury is a little bit worrisome, but I think maybe this is the game T.Y. finally breaks out. I think he does have the most upside of these Colts receivers, so he's my favorite, but it's not really a strong take. We have Marcus Johnson, who the last 3 games, 8, 4, and 7 targets, a 5.2. I think that's fine. And same thing with Pittman, right? He's at 4.4. Last game had 7 targets, 4 catches. So all 4 of those guys are playable. I don't really have a super strong take. Again, I guess if you're going to make me pick, it would be T.Y. But all 4 are in play. It's just, again, it's not great because no one stands out for the Colts at wide receiver. So it kind of feels like a guessing game, right? So hopefully you guessed right. I wish I had a stronger take, but I just don't. Other plays. Nyheim Hines at 6'2". Again, he's very, very similar to James White. He's the 3rd down back. He's going to be utilized in passing down situations. I think he's a little bit overpriced. 6.2K. it feels a little bit too much. Last 4 games, 4, 6, 5, and 3 targets is okay. The game against Detroit, he had 2 touchdowns. That's more of an outlier. So I think he's more of a contrarian play at this price. I think he's just a little bit too pricey. If he was like $3K, then I would like Nyheim Hines a lot more. 6.2, it just feels a little bit pricey. Let's see. So the tight ends for the Colts, again, we have Jack Doyle doubtful. So Burton and Mo Cox do look a little bit better here because the Colts love going to their tight ends. And Trey Burton's a guy that they actually will use at a wildcat near the red zone, right? He's had 2 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games. So I think Burton's a pretty decent play here at 5'6", right? He's a guy that 6'5", 4 and 4 targets is not really amazing, but I think he's a guy that does look better and it does get a little bit of boost with no Jack Doyle. You can say the same thing about Mo Cox at 4'8", right? He's questionable, but I think he's going to be good to go. Now, if he does miss, if Mo Cox is not available to play, obviously Doyle's out too, then and Doyle's out, then Burton is one of my favorite plays at 5.6K. Jordan Wilkins. So right now, at the moment, he is my favorite Colts running back at 5'4". Right, last game he had 11 carries, 2 catches. The previous game with Detroit he had 20 carries. So yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor's more talented, but you're also getting a 3K discount. So give me Wilkins. If this is going to continue to be a 3-headed monster, I'll just take the cheapest of the bunch. Both defenses with the Colts and Titans are fair enough prices that you can look to them. Am I going to get to either for single entry? Again, I'm a single entry guy. I only play 1 lineup. No. But again, for mass multi-entry guys, yeah, you can throw both defenses in there. They're at more playable prices, right? We've had some outrageous prices on defenses so far on these showdown sites, and people have been playing them, right? Bucks, over 7K, 40% owned. Patriots, over 7K, 40% owned. That's just crazy, because at that price, like the defense, you need like a defensive score. So at these prices, at least a little bit more reasonable, but I'm probably not going to prioritize either. The kickers are both fine. Blankenship and Gostkowski, 4K and 3.8K. I have no issue getting a kicker in my lineup. They're safer value plays. I expect probably a floor of about 5 for these kickers. Upside, kickers can probably get about 15. But yeah, I think both kickers are solid options. Ferkser 2-2. I think I like him. One of my favorite cheap value plays. He's been pretty consistent. Targets the last 4 games. That game against Houston was when Juju Smith is out, but he had an amazing game. He had 9 targets, 8 catches, over 100 yards. Pittsburgh, 2 targets. Cincy, 3 targets. Chicago, 6 targets. He's playing about 50% of the game, and he's at 2.2K. And he's shown he's a good receiving tight end. So yeah, I think Ferkser is one of the better, really cheap plays there at his price. Harris for the Colts to Michael Harris. With T.Y. coming back, I just don't think I can do it. Right, I think he plays very, very little, maybe if not like any at all. So yeah, I'm probably not going to go there again. Doyle doubtful. Don't expect him to go. Let's talk about where is Adam Humphries. He's at 4.6. Remains in the concussion protocol. We'll see if he does play. I think he's someone you can look to. Like he'll be the number 3 receiver playing out slot. If he does miss, then it's probably going to be Raymond and Batson kind of splitting the work, and neither really stands out. So yeah, Raymond's at 1K. Can you throw him in the player pool? Yeah, but he's not a super talented guy. But again, at this price, you don't need a lot. So if you do play him, you're really hoping for a couple catches. And then where is Batson's at the flat min $200? They haven't listed this out, but I think he's going to be fine. So yeah, him. Raymond will kind of split the number 3 work if Humphries is out. A couple other really cheap plays. Well, the other backs in Tennessee, I think they're okay value. Foreman's at $600. He played, let's go to the Titans. He played 15% of the snaps that last game. He had 5 carries. So, yeah, at that price, you don't need a lot. McNichols at $200. He's their 3rd down back. I like him. I think he's a pretty solid play. Now, sure, he hasn't been getting targeted a ton, but he's getting a good amount of snaps, right? Played 29% last game in week 8. He played, 35%, I believe it was? 35% of the snaps. So, yeah, $200. I think he does look like a pretty decent punt option if you need a really, really cheap play. And that about wraps up for the player-by-player breakdown. So let's talk about captains. And again, for cash game setting, I think you probably want to go both quarterbacks, so Tannehill and Rivers, and then probably one of the top Titans guys, whether it be Henry or AJ Brown. Henry's probably a little bit safer. Running backs always do have a slightly higher floor than wide receivers. So, yeah, if you're going for cash games, you probably do something like that, right, with both quarterbacks and Henry. That's probably how it started out. But, yeah, like I always mention, for GPPs, about 75% of the time, the winning lineup has either a running back or a wide receiver in the captain spot. So, guys that I'm looking to that have upside in the captain for GPPs, well, I think both the top Tennessee guys with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Yes, you can go Derrick Henry, but I think he'll be a little bit over-owned. Cheaper options. Again, T.Y.'s my favorite of the bunch of the Colts, but I think all four of those wide receivers I mentioned are playable. It's just kind of tough because no one really stands out as an amazing play. And then, I think you can look to a guy like, where is he? Am I losing it? Oh, Trey Burton. I think you can look to him. We have, again, Doyle doubtful. If Mo Cox is out too, then I do like Trey Burton a good amount. So, yeah, you can look to him, I think, as a captain. And that's probably the extent I would go to. So, my favorite Colts running back is Wilkins. If you want to go there, you can do it. Again, it's just a price point thing. So, we'll talk about more builds and, for cash games and GPPs in the live stream. So, make sure to check out the live stream, guys. 30 minutes before lock on Thursday. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the video. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it. Leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when to upload videos. You're not going to live. Again, Masters video, I do already have that up. That's on Thursday, $1 million to first. Also, early look video for the Week 10 main slate is up, so make sure to check out those videos, guys. Thanks again, and I will see you all later.